All right. What's up? What's up? We are live and in tune. I'm making sure everything is set up. I do not have any help here right now, so I am doing this off the whim. Let's go ahead and put these headphones on. All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Chase, and I have decided to start my podcast today. And it's a bit random. This episode's going to be kind of, I guess, all over the place, just because I'm going to be explaining who I am and what I do and why I'm starting this podcast. And yeah, so it's going to be really kind of self-improvement based, and then kind of having guests on here talking about individual stories and, you know, just really getting to learn about other people and kind of gear it towards how you can improve your life. Seeing that I've been in dark places before, just like a lot of people have, and I want it to be, worth something at this point, to be able to like look back and be like, wow, I've created a lot of things to be able to negate the feeling of not feeling like you're worth something. So self-improvement is going to be a big factor of this podcast. And I've never really like publicly, like on my social medias, posted a lot of what I do or like explained really a lot of stuff that I post. And I guess that just comes with not being too good at social media and kind of like having the anxiety aspect of it, just not wanting to post on anything, or, you know, the fear of messing up type of thing. So you're going to hear me have a lot of uhs and ums like I've been doing, just because I'm thinking as I go. But with social media, you know, it's been, the driving force of everything. So I have to like do what I have to do to get into it. So I've never kind of like publicly really posted my life all the time, or, you know, I'll post like things here and there that kind of give way with what I'm doing in my personal life. But other than that, I don't really post, and I need to get everything out. You know, I've amassed a lot of songs in my vault and a lot of ideas and videos and podcasts in my vault. It's just like time to release. So I'm going to kind of explain what Chase Me means with the 5, and what the 5 in my artist name, Chase, means to me, and kind of explain where I'm going with this chapter of my life. So to start off, I'm an audio engineer and producer. I started producing music, I want to say, at the very end of 2017, very start of 2018. I really started taking it like as oh shit, I'm going to do this every day. Wake up and do it. I was at a really dark place in my life towards the end of 2017, start of 2018, just because, you know, you go through high school, you get in your first relationship, and it's always like that immense, toxic, sometimes toxic, crazy relationship. And as a younger kid, you know, I wasn't really always thinking straight and thinking, anything bad was ever going to happen with that. And so you kind of go through this phase in high school where you're really unprepared for a lot of things. And music just kind of became an outlet for me to, I guess, escape, but also like in a way it was so expressionatory, or if that's a word, or, you know, I used it to express myself behind closed doors. And, you know, at the time I wasn't like taking it seriously. I was really just a hardcore fan of certain artists that just like really impacted me during that time. One of them being XXXTentacion. I was a big Weeknd fan. I just loved the melodic aspect of everything he did, and it just really caught my ear at a young age. And I've always loved classic rock, AC/DC, just whole bunch of different stuff. But during this time, it was really like really setting into me that I loved music, you know. And I'd grown up my whole life playing instruments and going to recitals, being a first chair cellist in an orchestra, and like just very strict music upbringing. And I never journeyed to the other side of like actually creating my own stuff until, you know, this high school thing. And I was just glued to it. I'd never understood the aspect of producing your own music or writing your own music or using a computer to, you know, control a DAW, which is a digital audio workstation for those who don't understand what I'm saying, which is where you know, record your music and create your music and mix and master your stuff. I didn't understand any of that. I didn't know that was really how music was made. I always thought it was like in these big studios with the big mix boards and the analog gear. And at the time, I didn't know it was even called analog gear. I just thought it was like gear, you know. And it really just took a hold of me, the aspect of producing on GarageBand. And GarageBand is a demo program that comes with most Macs. And me and my friend, shout out to Cameron Chip, he's one of my longtime best friends. We met in high school, and shortly after, you know, my kind of depressive phase, me and him really just bonded together. We did stupid shit, and then, you know, one thing led to another. We were producing music in my bedroom, getting drunk all the time, and there you go, birth of falling in love with producing music on the computer. And so me and him went crazy for just days and months, like just staying up, making music on GarageBand, and then eventually like being like, hey, maybe we should buy this program called Logic. It like has way more features and it's, you know, professional. So during that time, 2018 was really a dark place for me because I came out of a very, you know, bad relationship, but I was still in it for on and off 5 years total, I want to say. But during this time, it was still really young into it. And, I was just lost. I was doing a lot of stupid stuff and, you know, like a lot of teenagers do, where I don't want to dive too much into detail about that today, but, cause everybody kind of understands that. And, you know, 2018, after like 6 months of really like, starting to fall in love with it, like the last half of 2018, me and Chip were just like, bro, we need to go to a school to like learn how to actually properly mix and put these audio files together. Like we should make our own beats. Like we should sell beats. This would be so cool. And so that's what we did. We planned to go the summer of 2019 to a program called Create Music Academy. That's CRE8 Music Academy in West Hollywood in California. And it was a part of Westlake Recording Studios on Santa Monica Boulevard. And it was a crazy experience. It was a 4-week program that kind of just was an entry level, get to know how professionals really make music. And it went through, each week was dedicated to something. You know, 1 week was for producing, another week was for mixing, and the last week was for mastering, all types of stuff. So learning Logic key commands, learning how to record into Pro Tools, mix the two to be able to, you know, create your entire song and then master it. It was really cool. It really opened my mind to a lot of things. And I had this friend back home that, you know, during 2018, I became friends with him because we just bonded over kind of similar experiences. He was going through a rough patch with a girl, and it was just very similar to my situation. And he was a very, 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 very talented rapper, believe it or not. And I know a lot of people always say like, oh man, my buddy raps and he's like really good, and they're usually like trash as hell. But I'm not just saying that when I speak about this person, because at the time we just didn't realize that he was really a songwriter, and he was somebody that really put a lot of thought into the details of his work. And his name is Keaton. And he really, really inspired me to like keep doing the music stuff, because we were just getting so fed up with like relying on other people for like beats and waiting forever to record and stuff like that. So we were just like, dude, I'm gonna learn how to produce, and you're the guy who like writes, because you're good at this. And he was a really good rapper too, and it's something that he's just been glued to since he was little. You know, he really resonated with songwriting and rapping. And so, you know, I came back from California in 2019, and I've been friends with these guys for about a year now, Chip and Keaton. although they weren't like the closest of friends, it was just kind of that situation where like I had two friends in music that I like worked separately with a lot of the time. And, you know, I came back from LA, and me and Keaton were just like, dude, we need to like start working on music. Like that's the first thing we need to do is just work on music. And, but right when I got back, I was just still kind of like nervous just because like everybody thought I went to school to learn exactly how to do everything, when really in reality it was just the opening of the idea to how things how things get done to finish the song. And so I was still very entry level. I still didn't really know what I was doing or the science behind certain EQing and the science behind just music making. And so when I got back, it was a slow start, but I got back and we had all these big plans. And within like 5 days of me coming back, I started Instacarting for like side money. And Keaton has an extended family, a step family. And I got a call from Mitchell Musso, who was Keaton's stepbrother. Mitchell Musso, Mark Musso, and Mason Musso are a part of the like Musso family who, if y'all remember Mitchell, he was on Disney, and Mark did a couple movies when he was younger, and Mason is a part of Metro Station. So Keaton was extended family to them because they were married in. And so Mitchell had called me one day and wanted to work in the studio. So me and Keaton went to a studio in Dallas that Mitchell had been renting out for a while. And so that whole like couple weeks after being back, we were just going all just going hard in the studio and learning how to really integrate the stuff that I was taught. And I had brought back this book that I had pretty much made out of all the material that I was given at the school. And so we were just kind of like going ham in the studio. And that really, really, really is when I think it inseminated into my... Inseminated. I don't even know if that's the right word. That sounds really bad. It clicked in my head that I really loved music, and I really loved learning how to create it and the science behind creating it. And so the rest of 2019, we were all just working. And then soon after those months being in the studio with Mitchell, me and Keaton kind of resided back to Rockwall while Mitchell was going off and working and doing some other stuff in the media stuff that he does. And me and Keaton like really hunkered down and started working on this first project. You know, we had a song that we made in 2019 before I went to school that's on SoundCloud. It's called Wall Rocks. If y'all want to go check it out, that's my first song ever, so it's complete garbage. But I look back now and I'm just like, that was very important to do because it shows like the progress. But we made this song and I didn't make the beat. I got the beat from YouTube. I paid for it and we recorded it at our friend's apartment in college. And it was just, yeah, it was an experience to say the least. But other than that, we hadn't made anything. So post California, a year after releasing that song, you know, the very beginning of 2020, we were like, we need to create a project. We need to do a duo project like Chase and Keys. That's what we need to do. And Keaton, the rapper, he his artist name was Keys, Keys. So that's what we did. We had the concept of just creating this project, and a couple months went by. But then in March of 2020, like right before the COVID stuff, I was in Florida, and I had brought my laptop, and I was just producing, and I made this beat, and I was like, you know what, this is really, really, like, this is a really good beat. I think I'm gonna hold it for myself because I always wanted to like songwrite stuff for my own music, and I held on to it for a couple weeks, and then one day I was just like, hey, like I got this song this beat I really want to show you. I guess like I'm just not going to do it by myself anymore. I want to see what you think. And I played it for him, and it ended up being the demo to a song called What You Say, which is on our EP called Days in the Dark, which is the project we then started working on. So once we had that initial beat, Keaton like really fell in love with it, and he took it and ran with it. You know, the next day, like literally, it was like not even a day, he had wrote the entire first verse of his on that song. And if you go and listen to that, it's like you'll understand what I'm talking about when I say like he wasn't just a rapper. Like he really connected with lyrics, and so he's just a very talented person. I feel very fortunate for being able to have worked with him and gotten the experience I did, especially with him, you know, being brothers to Mitchell and Mark Musso, because those two have really impacted my life greatly when it comes to music and all this stuff. So I felt very, very fortunate to be working on this project with him, and we just went crazy. You know, for like, it took us 8 months to make 6 songs. We ended up releasing, or 8 songs, but we ended up releasing 5 of them. A couple we didn't end up finishing. But Days in the Dark ended up being a 5-song EP, and we worked on it all throughout 2020. And it really was, at that time, you know, during COVID and all the dark stuff that was going on, it was Days in the Dark. And so Keaton wrote that entire EP, and I produced the entire thing. So every instrumentation, every bit of mixing and mastering was on my end, and every bit of songwriting and lyrics and everything was writing wise was on his end. And he was spectacular. I feel like we both did really well. That was my first entry-level project to really produce and show that we did it completely on our own. We did it in a garage, like literally in a garage. I had a warehouse down the street from my house that used to be like a gym, you know, looked like one of those CrossFit gyms. My stepdad used to run a business down there, and then we just used it as storage ever since he moved out of there and started another thing. He's a chiropractor now. But besides that, this warehouse was just filled with shit, like office shit. Looked like an office, like had my mom's an eye doctor. She owns a eye care practice, and you know, they had these big display cases in the old office that they had, and we had taken all that down to storage. So I naturally like made this studio in a warehouse. It was just filled with like stuff that were built up to emulate walls, and we had a tarp like over the thing to make it look like a room, and we had a bathroom, functioning toilet, refrigerator, everything. And it was crazy. It was just like an underground warehouse type of underground music was being made in there, and it just had its own vibe, and it was very special during that dark time because COVID was, you know, affecting everybody. And me and Keaton at the time were working for a pizza place, just delivering pizzas. I mean, like doing stupid shit. You know, we would like just crave to get off work to go work on this project, and we'd work till late at night, get up early in the morning, hit it, work again, and then get off work and then go and work on the project. And it's just like, oh my gosh, it was so much, but we ended up really, you know, doing something to ourselves by making that project. It was entry level. It's not like we were like, oh, we're going to go #1 tomorrow. Of course, every beginning artist needs to start somewhere. And for us, it was just very important that we self-made the project, and it was self-produced. We released Days in the Dark in November. And once we did it was like on Black Friday in November of 2020. And once we did, it was just like, wow, like we got it. And it was on Apple Music. Like we put it everywhere. We learned how to distribute the music. We learned how to it was just the first time learning how to really do something with regards to releasing your music. And it felt good. So November 2020, the end of November we released it, and then the month of December we were just plotting a music video, and Mitchell had came back and we showed him the studio, because once Keaton had showed him the EP, he was like, dude, this is real, like y'all had done this, like what the hell happened? Like I had gone, my face was tatted, you know, like so much shit had like changed. And so he was like, I got to see the studio. I got to see what y'all are working in. So he came to the warehouse, and it was just like instant, man. Like even Mitchell was glued. Like he just wanted to make this video. Like we were just all cohesively working on this music video, and it was really fun. It was really, really an awesome experience. And we got to film to our song Hit My Line. We used the actual studio. We used scenes outside of the studio, but we showed this garage and what it really was. So you can go and check it out and see what, the place we were kind of working in. But we were just trying to make it, like we were just trying to make it as in like make the music. We were just trying to make the video and do something with that because we now had music to make a video for. So that, 2021, we released that music video 2-3 months after the project. And then ever since then, man, me and Mitchell all through 2021 just took over that warehouse. We were working on the demo to what is now his released and finished project. So all of 2021 was extremely crucial to me because Mitchell was a huge mentor, and he basically is the one who kind of made it possible for me to get, true analog gear and put me on to really understanding, the importance of like traditional gear and making your music sound of higher quality, not just using a laptop. So 2021 was an explosive year of growth for me. And so, I invested in February that year into an Apollo Twin, and that changed everything. I got the Apollo Twin and a microphone called a TLM 103, which happens to be the one I'm speaking into. And it is one of the best investments I made in that studio because that it carried the whole way. It gave us like a whole new level to the clarity of our vocals and the songs we were writing. So me and Mitchell had to have made over 100, 200 different songs. I mean, we made hundreds of beats. On top of that, we were writing to half of them. So, I mean, we have stuff in the vault that's just so much stuff. And Keaton at that time was like really working on other stuff and like doing some different work for his dad and whatnot. And so while he was kind of taking that break, he was really refreshing his writing mentality and all that kind of stuff. So that whole year of 2021, I really was working with Mitchell. We worked so much that we just started learning so much more detail just because you wake up and you do it. And I'm in a fortunate place where, I'm allowed to work on this 80 to 90% of my time because I want to put in everything into music. I want to put everything into creating a business and all that sorts. And I feel very blessed to be able to do that. But that's how I was able to grow in 2021 was just the immense amount of work that we were putting in the studio. And so around September, October, I had an opportunity out in Florida, and my parents in like 2020 had, or probably, I don't remember if it was 2020 or 2021. But 2020 was maybe when they made the move. My stepdad opened his chiropractic business out in Pensacola. And so my parents decided to make their retirement move to Florida. And so my mom spends half the time there, half the time here, running her business. And so they met somebody who owned a home studio and was looking to mentor somebody. And I got that opportunity to go out to Florida. Unfortunately, I was at a time in my life where that, toxic relationship from high school was still lingering on into my 20s. And I was in a really, weird spot, despite being in a really good place with music all 2021 and all that. I was in a weird mental state that gave me the driving force in 2021 to just put everything into music. If you understand what I mean by that. And so, I got to go to a studio, awesome studio, by the way, called Modus Flow. Anthony over at Modus Flow, awesome. I was there for maybe 2 weeks, a week. But when I was there, subconsciously I was dealing with all this mental stuff at the forefront of my head. But subconsciously, whenever I was in that studio, I was just like, oh my gosh, like, I really don't know what I'm doing because all I have is an Apollo Twin. Like that's all I've worked with. And I worked with digital plugins, digital compressors, digital EQs, stuff like that. And he had real pure analog gear set up in his house that was just, it was the coolest shit I'd ever seen. And so I was really intimidated by that, and also just really in a dark place that it just like gave me like a halt for a minute. And I was like, I think I moved out here too quick. I think I made the wrong decision because I left, Mitchell and Keaton back at home, and we were working remotely, and it was just kind of hard doing that. And so I decided to come back because I guess decided that I just wasn't ready. And so, all these little interactions all helped in the biggest way. Now I realize that more than ever, this year, just because of all the things that happened, because I came back and that was the best decision that I made, because from 2021 through 2022, to the, start of 2022, me and Keaton started working on our follow-up project, Today's in the Dark, and it was way bigger, double the length, twice as ambitious. I mean, it was just so exciting, and we were making new music that we felt hadn't been heard before, because it wasn't just traditional rap. I mean, we're putting just stuff together in a Logic project and making what I think is real art, whereas it's not just industry planted crap, where it's just the same old line, the same old F in the hose in the club, that kind of stuff. Like, we're just not doing that. And simultaneously, I was also working with Mitch on his project. So all of 2022 was dedicated to finishing, or at least getting our follow-up project to the level we wanted it to be at within a year, or whatever time frame we were putting on. And then at the same time, I was really putting in a lot of effort into Mitchell's comeback project. And so all of 2022, that's what we did. I mean, me and Mitchell, like, by this time it was summer 2022, we had so many demos that we were just like, dude, I think we have the album. Like, we definitely have a good enough selection of songs to just narrow down from the hundreds of demos we've got down to a project. So one day we just took a drive, ordered them all up into a file, and then we were like, oh my God, this is the album. And so it took us 2 weeks to finish the entire album, starting with the demos that we had, to like really narrow down what kind of album we were creating. And so the project is called Ghost by Mitchell Musso. It was personally produced here in my house, in my studio, by me and Mitchell, and we both co-wrote the project. We spent the first year in 2021 creating all these demos in a warehouse, and then now had finished the project here and released it in October of 2022. And it features his brother Mark Musso, who is also an incredible friend of mine. And that project was really what solidified like my entrance into music today. So having only done 2 projects, one being my own with Keaton that was really experimental, that was only done on an Apollo, to now a full-fledged album that's out, that was mixed and mastered by real analog gear. All of 2022, I spent upgrading the studio and getting the proper equipment, getting new computers, getting new analog gear, getting new modems, getting new controllers, everything. Because I knew, 1, I'm taking it seriously, and 2, I also want to build a business. I think I'm going to need the assets of the quality to create that, So 2022, that's all we were doing. We put out Ghost in October, spent the last couple months before the album dropped making the music videos, getting to travel to LA, do some meets, do some interviews, came back and released it. And that was that. We released the album. And then since then, I've been working on Mark Musso project. And the whole time I've been putting into music, well, before I get to that, since the Ghost drop in October, I've really solidified into how I'm going to make this business work, creating the business plans, understanding how to create an actual business. I'm I graduated a year and a half early from high school because I hated school and was depressed with my life, and I didn't continue my education. So I'm doing it all, learning how to do it all from the start. And I wouldn't be able to do it without, my family's help investing into me, specifically my mom. She's a huge believer in what I'm doing. I wouldn't be able to have made Mitchell's Project without her. I wouldn't have been able to do anything music without her. And so it's why I'm really trying to go hard with, one, I need to release stuff because I've been working on an album for almost 5 years now. And it's what birthed my addiction to starting to making music, because when I started making beats, I started realizing like I'm in this rough place. I started this concept of an album in the beginning of 2018 that I called Chase Me. And to me, when I started it in 2018, I was just really making it about that year, but I didn't understand that really Chase Me was the whole chapter that was about to happen in my life. And so it just kept getting pushed off, and I, naturally wanted to get better at making music, so I just kept putting certain songs off, and then your mind changes about what song you want on the album, and I've just been stuck in that loop for 4.5 years now with this project. And, part of the reason why I'm releasing this podcast today and starting this is to really start the release process of this chapter, like making this chapter a reality for what it was to me and my entrance into who I'm becoming. And so Chase Me is a collection of, basically a 5-year period of my life, 2016 to 2021, that heavily impacted the direction that I went with my life and what I learned and what I overcame. That's what Chase Me is to me. And so everything I do is kind of going to be in that universe of things, like Chase Me, and the name came from in high school. That relationship was very toxic, but the first year I was driving a sports car, and I had to get a custom license plate, and so I wanted Chase, like my name, like CHASE, me, but it was taken. And so I thought I had to have Chase Me because I thought that was so cool. It was a play on my name, and I had the girlfriend and I had the car, and so I was just such a douchebag. But I got the license plate Chase Me with the 5 as the S because the S was taken by somebody else. So that birthed like the whole concept of really was the downfall of my life at that point for 2 years at least. And then, the stuff that followed, it got worse in other areas in my life, but then other places it just got immensely better. So it was just always like constant highs, constant lows. But yeah, back to, now May of 2023, since Ghost, it's been like 8 months, I guess. 7 months. I've really just been putting my all into making this happen. And Mitchell's doing his thing. He's doing some shows and working on other forms of content. We're just trying to push, same with Mark, same with, Chip. He's back to Chip because Cameron Chip, the guy that I started with, he, for a bulk of time, had to deal with the whole normal college shit, parents, pushing him to do college, pushing him to find a normal stuff. And he also just wanted that for himself. So he's in college now, and still produces music. He is a badass EDM producer. He always, discredits himself. And I'm like, man, like he creates stuff in 5 minutes and then he'll just be like, oh, I hate it now. And then I'll delete it, which is the disease of an artist anyways, which is what we all deal with. And, so, I went off topic again, but he's badass. He'll send me demos and then we'll, I'll re-engineer some stuff and do some different stuff based off what he did, because he's good, man. And so we're just really working on that. And I've been really more isolated, I think, more than I've ever been the last few months, just because I've put my head down and I've really buried my head into what I'm doing. In the podcast studio, and here y'all can't see it, but I will end up creating like a tour one day soon, hopefully. But I have 4 mics set up for anybody that comes in and does this show. And I have lights. I have a TV mounted on the wall that is connected to an HDMI splitter. And I have a monitor on my desk that has the same view as that hung up TV using the splitter. And it's showing me the camera in the A10 Mini, which is the device I use to plug all my cameras into. And then I have a TV below that I can see that is showing me my computer screen that I usually use in other people's podcasts for like YouTube or whatever, like the Jamie, pull that up kind of thing. And 3 different iPhones to record, although we're only using the one because I'm not doing any switching today. And I have a Rodecaster that I'm using. I'll give the studio tour, but anyway, so just really building this up, building the podcast room, building the music studio, building the landing room, and then eventually we're clearing out this other room to make as a freelance studio where, photography or whatever. And so I wanted to, for the last couple years, my target date to release my album that I've been working on before Days in the Dark, before Mitchell's project, before I even went to LA to learn like the entry-level processes, before I even knew how to make music, I had been working on this project. And I gave myself a destined day that I needed to start releasing stuff. I needed to release the universe of Chase Me. And it's hard, man, because I'm so big on trying to self-produce this project that it's not just like 13 songs. Like, I'm trying to make a compilation album that is loaded up with different genres, loaded up with a couple different features on there from all the people that I've been working with, loaded up with just the story from start to finish of the highs and lows, the positives and negatives of my life from 2016 to 2021. And it's just taken me a long time to do because it's an immense project. It is an immense project. And having to do it by myself for the most part, while also trying to achieve better quality in my music that I make without releasing, that's what's been taking me so long. And that's what's been really, I look at it as a blessing and curse, man, because I'm able to learn by working on other people's stuff, but I'm also harboring myself from releasing anything because I feel like I have that artist disease where nothing is ever good enough. So I decided that May 5th, 2023 has got to be the day that I start the release process of things. I start this universe and start this chapter of showing what Chase Me was and what it is. And so that's why I've decided to start with a podcast instead of releasing a song. I almost released a song today, but I decided that the whole time I've made this project, I've always wanted to not release a single from it. I just wanted to release the project when it's ready as a whole. And so that allowed me to think, you know what, then I have more room to, it's just the excuses that I make to push things off. But really, I have more reason to release the newer stuff that I've been making that I know that aren't on that project and aren't a part of that because it's a part of my life now. My life now is completely different than it was a year ago when I was working on Ghost. I'm in a relationship with somebody that's way better for me, and we are almost at a year, next week. And just a lot's changed. I'm in a different relationship. I'm in a different place in my life. I'm working on a business. I'm getting things released. So I think I need to, release those singles as they're happening and really make this project the look back into the past and see, okay, this is how this started. So if it takes me longer, then that's what it is. I got to stop fixating on all these numbers. But I did fixate on a number because today is May 5th, 2023, which is 555, which is typically my angel number that I like seeing. And the 5 is in my name, in my artist name, in my podcast, and everything that I'm doing for Chase Me is related to a 5. I really didn't plan the album to be like a 5-year period thing. It just happens to be the period of time that I'm writing about was 2016 through 2021, because things just kept happening every year. So it just kept getting pushed into the next year, and things finally ended in 2021 that changed my perspective on things. And I went into this new area of my life where that next year I was working on a different project. I released a project with Mitchell, and I had a new friend group. I had a new girlfriend. Like everything was different. And I really felt like I was making more mature decisions, which garnered me around the right people. And so I even met toxic people along the way too, that, even some of the close people that I had weren't the best to be around by a certain point in time. And that's why I've taken a break from them and really, really put my head down into this and been a lot more isolated than ever. And so, Chase Me, I really want to be an album that inspires like younger kids, to be honest. I don't want it to be necessarily like look at what I can do, look at what I've been working on for so long type of thing. I'm really trying to make this project emotionally invigorating in so many different ways, because that's what I was living and that's what I was dealing with. And I always felt like I didn't have a voice during the stuff that I was going through. So now that it's, the day of 5/5/5 or 5/5/23, whatever, I got to start something, and I got to start somewhere of releasing. And this is my entry into doing that. So, I'm trying to think what else I want to leave off with in this first episode. It's going to make more sense along as I go. And I'm really starting to go hard into like Adobe After Effects and Final Cut Pro. So every show that I'm doing just ends up getting better because I'm putting more time into the quality of things and what I'm even doing. So with this podcast, I think the next episode I'm going to have is going to have a guest. And I already have one in mind. I already know who it is, but I really wanted this first podcast to be strictly engaging, one-on-one, and explaining like where I'm starting at. And if you want to go check out the stuff that I have put out, especially in regards to, like my project Days in the Dark with Keys, or my project with Mitchell, his album Ghost, you can go check that out on anywhere you listen to music, Spotify, Apple Music. You can pull up Chase with a 5, CHA5E, and Keys, KEYS, all capital. That's where you'll find, my artist profile and some of my songs I've released. And then Mitchell Musso's Ghost is out everywhere. And then I also have 3 singles out that Mark Musso has put out that I was fortunate enough to work on and mix and master. So I did a lot of the audio stuff on Mark's songs. So you can go check out his 3 singles. And then, let's see, I've had this like little loop over here displaying, like it just did right there, my YouTube channel and my Instagram. And then as I integrate more social media stuff into other platforms, these are really like the only 2 that I use, Instagram and, really just Instagram. You can follow me there, see some other stuff on there. And then if you want to follow Rockwall Recording Studio, go on Instagram. I have an account for that. And I'm going to start posting the launch of the business. Hopefully next week. I'm launching the website. Everything else is all done, all complete. And you can catch up with what I'm doing on there, because I am definitely going to be posting on that account. Also, if you want to see some of the better editing of things that I've done, you can check out the new Father Figure Fitness podcast that I am producing for the guys over at Studio Fitness here in Rockwall. Awesome guys. They changed my life. I got heavy into fitness because of them, and because I was a little scrawny one 130-pound no nothing, and now I'm doing their podcast that is centered around health and fitness and nutrition and all of those things. So you can check out the first video episode we released this week is on Spotify and YouTube. That's Father Figure Fitness podcast. You can see it on my linked socials that I'll have. And yeah, so I'm going to conclude this podcast. I want to thank y'all for listening. If you made it this far, tune in every week. I'm going to be trying to upload a new episode. And it'll be much more, subject centered on more podcasts. This one's just kind of all over the place because one, I'm not using AI for a script. I'm just going off my head. And two, I got to explain what it even is anyways. So thank y'all for watching, and peace. Man, I said watching. I meant listening, because yeah, it's a podcast, dude.